find you a seat. You want to sit up here? No. Is that not close enough? You're going to sit up here? Okay. Are you sure? Okay.
There's a person behind you. Be careful.
Yeah.
It might attack.
What? I should be on now. I have a green light. I am going to keep talking now in order to test this system and see if my voice gets louder and gets... Okay, I think it is getting amplified. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to another wonderful episode of City Church Canton. Hi. Do you have something to share? Okay. We are glad you're here. Bienvenido. Bienvenue. Huh? Yeah. All right, cool, that's working. Before we get started, I guess first off, how are y'all doing? How are things going? Yeah? Feeling good? That's good to hear. Good to see some nodding heads, some bobbing heads. If you are new here, go ahead and text your name to that number up there, and Pastor Chris will probably start texting you back. Just in case you are unaware, I am not Pastor Chris. I am a different guy altogether. Pastor Chris is right there.
He found the microphone.
Yeah. Is that you? Apparently we are both running this service today. COVID-19 update. I don't know what the update is.
Still around.
Hey, it's still here. I do know that Summit County got downgraded to orange. I think Stark's downgraded to yellow, so we're moving in the right direction. Keep wearing those masks. But I know it's worth saying that if Stark hits red, then we're probably going to be moving back to online services, just in case you haven't heard that already. Children's Church. I'm going to go ahead and have Jeremy.
This will be a little bit different time than
It's okay, so it's not right now. I'm going to have Jeremy do a little dance. He'll be doing this in a moment, but yeah, let's skip on to the next one. Offering, just so you are aware, there is a bucket in the back. If you have an offering that you'd like to offer, go ahead and put it there. But we're not going to be passing around the plates because COVID-19. And just in case you're unaware, communion, it is in the back on the table on your way out, so go ahead and collect it as you go. Take it separately in your house. We'll be doing it together in spirit, but again, COVID makes this a little difficult to do in person. For now, we're going to, step into a time of echoes. Step into a time of prayer. We're going to go ahead and do the Lord's Prayer together. So, please, follow along with me. Our Father in heaven, hallowed be your name. Your kingdom come, your will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us today our daily bread, and forgive us our debts, as we also have forgiven our debtors. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from the evil one. Thank you. And we're going to have some extra special prayer time now, so assume whatever prayer position you wish. As we focus on the concept of leading us not into temptation. I'd just like to start praying right now. Okay, yeah, right. Hey God, it's us again. What up? We just wanted to take the time to thank you for allowing us to gather here today. And we'd like to focus on the idea in your prayer to lead us not into temptation. Lead us where you would have us go in the coming weeks. And please keep us from being tempted, because we know that we will fail without your guidance. So lead us where you would have us go. Please teach us what you want us to want us to be taught, and help us to be who you want us to be. Thank you for the opportunity. We love you. In your name we pray. So we're going to go ahead and do our responsive reading in lieu of singing. So you guys are going to be the all caps part, generally going to be the bottom half of the screen. I, the leader, am going to be the top part that's not all caps. So here we go. God, we are often so wrapped up in the ways we are righteous. We are preoccupied with our schedules and responsibilities. Everything we are striving to do. With stands we are taking. Let us remember as we navigate difficult times. The meekness of Christ. Whose meekness is not defensive. Humbly accepts correction. Gently endures pressure. Meekness lets pride fall away. Meekness does not need to defend itself. Meekness courageously embraces other hardness. Blessed are the meek, who is lowly, gentle, and humble of heart, who allowed the blame of all to be put upon him. Change our hearts, O God, toward the deep strength of loving kindness. Now we'll have Jeremy come up and do Children's Church.
The mic behind on the stairs is on. Do you make it? Let's do it.
Thank you, sir.
Mm-hmm.
Good morning, everyone. Hi, woohoo! Hey. I'm going to rap this morning. Just kidding. DJ JD in the house. Hi. Ann, are you there? You going to help us press buttons? Yeah.
She doesn't know how to do the DVD. Are you doing it right away or are you doing it left?
Let's wait a second, okay? Let's take everyone, not just kids. Who has ever been through an almost impossible situation? Just 3 of us. Okay. You liars. In church. Yes, multiple. Shush, Creed. Creed 3, be quiet. No. That's what we're going to call them, Creed 3. We have all faced something in our lives which we think is we can't just get through, get by. We want it resolved quickly. That's usually how we work as people, right? Right, kids? Yeah. How many kids have ever used a microwave? Me. Yes. Okay. How many kids have ever used a crock pot? The grown-up kids are like, so there. How many kids have ever seen a crock pot being used before? Yeah, well, what's a crock pot, right? Is this where you get up and change the TV with your hand? Anyway, so if you've seen a crock pot before, you know a crock pot does not take very long, right? No, it takes forever, doesn't it? A microwave is quick, isn't it? Because we want things like that. Okay, so today we're going to talk about, and we're going to watch a video in just a minute, of when Jesus walked on water. So we've heard of this miracle before. Yes? Yes? Okay. How impossible is it for us as people to walk on water? Who's tried, right? Who has done that? That's fun. Yeah, probably the pastor's kids who try to baptize like everyone at the pool, right? Just kidding. I know I tried to do that before. Yeah, it doesn't work out very well, right? So in the scriptures tells us when Jesus did such, and not only did he do such, he encouraged one of his followers, Peter. Let me ask this other question too. Who has ever been in a boat? At home, are you raising your hand? Okay. Who's ever been on a boat where you thought to yourself, I should not be in this boat? Yes, okay. I know, and I'm trying to brag or anything. This year we went on a cruise before COVID hit. So sorry, not trying to brag, but we also went on one for our 10-year anniversary. And I swear there was one part of being on that boat where we were completely airborne. Because it was just like, whoa. And right then I was like, wow, we are on this humongous thing in the middle of, at that time, probably the Atlantic. And you thought to yourself, I don't want to be here, right? So there was a case in point where Peter maybe just didn't want to be here. So are we ready for the video? Not yet?
It's pulling up now.
Okay, it's pulling up now.
Going through its menu.
Who still wears their life preservers when they go out? Yeah, you should. Like wearing a mask, folks, it's going to save your life. You never know what's going to happen. Oh, side question. This is what I was going to ask you since it's summer. What are some good swimming holes that you like to go to in the area?
My parents' house.
The parents' house. Yes. I know you have masks, right? This is a really unfair question to ask. Oh, the watering hole. Yeah, I may have been there once or twice before, right? Wow, that was a really bad question to ask. Okay, so let's watch our Bible story. And this is about Jesus walking on water and something about with Peter as well.
Get up over there a little bit towards the speakers.
I think that was me.
Press enter.
Jesus had been teaching crowds of people by the Sea of Galilee. It was getting late, so he told his disciples to get into the boat and go to the other side of the sea. Jesus sent the crowds away and went up on a mountain to pray by himself. That evening, the boat was far from the shore, and the wind blew and the waves tossed the boat around. Jesus was still on the mountain alone. Around 3 a.m, Jesus came toward his disciples, walking on the sea. When the disciples saw Jesus, they were terrified. It's a ghost, they cried. Right away, Jesus spoke to them. Have courage, it's me, do not be afraid. Peter answered, Lord, if it really is you, tell me to come to you on the water. So Jesus said, come. Peter got out of the boat and started walking on the water toward Jesus. But when Peter saw how strongly the wind was blowing, he was afraid. Peter began to sink. Lord, save me, he cried. Jesus reached out his hand and grabbed Peter. Jesus said, you have a little faith. Why did you doubt? They got into the boat and the wind stopped. Then everyone in the boat worshiped Jesus and said, truly, you are the Son of God. Jesus proved that he can be trusted. His miracles, teachings, death, and resurrection showed that he is who he says he is. Only Jesus can save us when we look to him in faith.
Ooh. So, now we live in a world that's kind of weird, right? And it was already weird before. Yes? Yeah. Thank you. Who said that? Yeah, that's right. Anna's like, uh-huh. Preach, brother. Can any of our situations in our life right now, kids, can they seem scary? No. Ask an adult. They'll tell you, yeah, it's scary. So sometimes we're scared and we don't understand what's going around. But if we keep our eyes on Jesus like Peter did, perhaps and perchance, we will make it. All right, ready for your up and down quiz? Ready? Right there in the middle? Okay, so kids, give me thumbs up. Big kids, thumbs up. Thumbs down. Okay. So that's how you answer. And at home, right? True or false? So this is true? False? Yes? No? Okay. Jesus was not in the boat with the disciples. True or false? At the beginning of the story. That's true. He wasn't there. And where was he? You may remember? Not yet. He what? He did walk on the water eventually, but he was first where? You may remember? On a mountain. He was on a mountain. The disciples in the boat were scared because there was a hole in the boat. True or false? I mean, there could have been, but we don't know that, right? Yeah, they were scared. What were they scared of? Yeah, the wind. That's right, Anna. 10,000 points for you. Whoever said it to. Boom. When the disciples first saw Jesus, they thought he was a ghost. True or false? Yeah, they did. They're like, dude, are you a ghost? We don't even know. We've never seen this before, right? Like some people are like, why would he say ghost? Because they don't know what to compare this to, anything. So they just made up something. All right. They were. Wow. That's amazing. The person that called to Jesus was Peter. Total, yeah. Did you get it at home? Yes? Okay. And Jesus told Peter to do a cannonball. True or false? Getting it true from Rebecca, so it has to be true. No, he didn't say do a cannonball. What did he say? Yeah, he said, come on, let's go for a walk, right? Okay. Peter began to sink when, I just lost my question, I'm sorry. When he looked at the waves and became afraid. True or false? Come on, baby. It is true. It is true. Okay. And Jesus actually saved Peter. Yes? Yes. What's your last question? Was this a miracle? Yeah, totally a miracle. Excellent. All right, guys, have a good week.
Big hand for Jeremy. Good job. Yeah, all right. Just trying to break up the lack of noise there. Break up the silence. Good. Try it. Mark 10. Welcome, everybody. Today, we are going to be continuing our sermon series on Mark. Now, I'm going to throw it out there. I've been very excited to finally get to preach a little bit on Mark, and the reason for it has nothing to do with what I'm about to preach about. You guys should see what's coming here, but whenever we decide on a sermon series, right, we also try to decide on a name for that sermon series, right? And in this year's meeting, when we were trying to come up with a name for it, I believe it was Jacob had come up with an astounding pun, right? Phenomenal pun. And I thought, shoo-in for the name. Some of my co-preachers decided that was not a good idea to use this pun. They said I could use it whenever I preached. So I've been anxiously waiting for months now to finally preach so that I can use this pun. And now that I've built it up as high as it deserves, are you guys ready to hear what could have been the name for this series? Marcaroni and Cheeses. Thank you. I'll say it again. Marcaroni and Cheeses. Wonderfully, wonderfully delightful pun. Yes, it is so cheesy. It works on so many levels. It's got the names in there. Macaroni and cheese. What more can you do? I also like the fact that it evokes this imagery, right? When I think of mac and cheese, I think of Easy Mac. You microwave it real quick. It's something that's supposed to be a very quick meal, very basic, and that's kind of what Mark is as well, right? It's very quick, very basic. Other Gospels will expound on it a little bit more. Phenomenal. Phenomenal pun. That's why I pushed so hard for it and kept it for so many months so that I could put this up here, because it works on so many levels, and I'm glad that you guys can enjoy this with me. Macaroni and Jesus. Thank you. That's the sermon. That's all I had prepared for today. No. For my sermon today, I thought I'd just kind of take a more basic approach to this. We're just going to run through the verses in order, right? Instead of reading it all and kind of talking about it as a whole, I wanted to go through each verse individually, kind of touch on some parts that are there. And the real big point is right at the end. So if you are like me and like to tune things out for a while, go ahead and start now. You'll miss the unimportant parts. Come back in at the end where we get to the point of this, all right? So just so you know. This section of verses starts with, they were on the road going up to Jerusalem, and Jesus was walking ahead of them. They were amazed, and those who followed were afraid. And what I wanted to touch on here is the imagery that is sort of present here is almost heroic in nature, right? This makes me think of that moment in a movie when the hero has resolved to do what they are going to have to do, and now they're heading down the road towards it, right? And you've got everybody else around them gasping in terror, afraid of what's about to happen, because they know that the hero here is heading towards confrontation. And that's sort of what Mark is trying to get at here. Jesus knows that he's heading toward Jerusalem in order to be crucified, and we'll see more of that here in a moment. Everybody around him knows that he's going towards Jerusalem for something important, for something confrontational. And one of the things that I wanted to kind of try to find a source for or just touch on a little bit is you might have heard it said before that in the time, the culture at large mostly believed that that if a Messiah was going to come, it was probably going to be someone militaristic, right? It makes a lot of sense. If you read the Old Testament, a lot of Israel's history is based on military conquest, right? They know that they have God's favor because God gives them the land of Israel and they take it over by force. They know that they've lost God's favor because Babylon comes in and takes it by force. They know that they've regained God's favor because they get their land back from the Babylonians, and so on throughout the millennium prior to this. At the time, you already know they are under Roman rule, and they are looking for somebody to come in and save them from this rule. And so it kind of naturally lends itself to believe that whoever this Messiah is going to be is probably going to be somebody who's going to take their land back by force, again, just like everybody prior to them has done. And so that's why I put this picture up here, because this is kind of the energy, right, that comes out of these verses. This is, if you're not aware, this is the Washington crossing the Delaware, getting ready to go off and fight some battles and win the Revolutionary War and whatnot. This is the sort of energy that people are expecting out of him, right? And that's kind of what he adopts a little bit with his marching incessantly towards Jerusalem. Just a fun little quip here. Verse 32, second half through 34. He took the 12 aside again and began to tell them what was to happen to him, saying, "See, we are going up to Jerusalem, and the Son of Man will be handed over to the chief priests and the scribes, and they will condemn him to death. Then they will hand him over to the Gentiles. They will mock him and spit upon him and flog him and kill him. And after 3 days he will rise again." In Luke 18:34, Luke adds that they understood none of these things. And that makes sense to me. If they are expecting some sort of military conquest, you would never expect your leader to take you aside and say, "All right, here's what we're going to happen, or here's what's going to happen. We're going to go in here, and I'm going to die. But it'll be okay, I'll get better." That doesn't make any sense. Oh, thank you. Is that for me?
That's a heart.
It's a heart.
Yeah.
Is that for me? Thank you. That is a very pretty heart. For those of you at home, keep up your drawing. All right. Do you have anything you want to add to that heart? What else? Play a game? Play tag. I think Mommy said she wanted to play tag.
How
Play tag.
Play game.
Play date.
Yeah.
Okay. With who?
Mom.
With Mom?
Yeah.
Mommy wants a play date.
Yeah.
You should go ask her about that. Okay. Where was I? Luke 18. Understood none of these things. Oh, yes. Because you would never expect your military leader to say, we're going to go in here and I'm going to die, but I'll get better. It'll be okay. That doesn't make sense, right? So, of course, if that's their point of view, that we're getting ready to go in here and take over Jerusalem and stage our big fight against Rome, then this part makes absolutely no sense. And that kind of fits in with this whole understanding of a military leader, right? Sources I have seen have said that they knew that there was prophecy surrounding the Messiah about being broken and killed and rising again, but it seems like largely they just didn't understand how to mesh that with everything else that they knew this person was going to be. And so here Jesus is saying the same sort of stuff, and they don't know how to mesh that with this other part that they think he's supposed to be. Verse 35. James and John, the sons of Zebedee, came forward to him and said to him, Teacher, we want you to do for us whatever we ask of you. So we, in typical Markian style, we kind of take a pause on that prophecy, and we're going to start up another story here just to kind of illustrate some finer points about what's going on. And we cut to this scene where James and John want a favor from Jesus. Now, Matthew 20:20 says that their mom asked for them. I don't know if there's a point there. I just thought it was funny, even as the apostles, right, they're supposed to be these men of power, they still had to have their mommy go ask for them. I guess maybe the point here is that mommies are important, so good job, moms. I don't know. It was humorous to me. But part of what I wanted to touch on here is this phrasing here. Like when I, as a 21st century American, read something like this, we want you to do for us whatever we ask of you, it sounds to me like somebody's being coy to try to get one over on somebody. But I don't think that that's what's being illustrated here. I put up here this Mark 6:22b, where if you remember, all those many months ago when we talked about this was where Herod's daughter-in-law did some dancing or something, and then Herod tells her, ask me for whatever you wish and I will give it. And I think the concept that's being illustrated here is that Herod and Jesus in these scenarios are people of authority, people of power, and the daughter-in-law and James and John are trying to seek favor with that person of power as a way of saying, like, we've served you very well and we would like something in return for this, right? So, like, please bless us out of your power, not we're trying to get one over on you. But they want something. Verse 36, and he said to them, what is it you want me to do for you? Now, Herod, in his arrogance, had just outright said, you can have anything. Jesus, a little bit more cautious because he's real smart, right? He knows what's going on. But I will point out, it's not no. And if anybody has ever been a child with a parent, you will know that that means you might get what you want. Let's find out. Verse 37, and they said to him, grant us to sit, one at your right hand and one at your left, in your glory. Which is basically an old-timey way of saying we want to be second in commands of your kingdom. So there were a few different sources, and I apparently forgot to note them here, but a couple different ideas going on here. If we believe that, kind of how I've outlined so far, that they largely expected a military leader, then probably what they're asking for is to be like generals or something in charge of their armies, big-time guys in this rebellion that's coming up. Some people have argued that it's not about that part, that it's more about they understood that things were not going to go well here and that they were all going to die, and they're arguing for some sort of great place in the afterlife. Right? They want to go to heaven and have their giant mansions and be seconds in command. Either way, as we're about to see, they're asking for something that they shouldn't be asking for. But it's interesting. I more believe that it's the first part, that they are looking at this as though they are about ready to go into war, and they want the glory that comes with it. Cultural things already mentioned. We also know that James and John, sons of Zebedee, or I think the translation is sons of thunder. It's commonly believed they were somewhat of hotheads, probably kind of aggressive people. So they're probably looking at this through a fighting sort of lens. And that's probably what they're looking for here. Verse 38. But Jesus said to them, "You do not know what you are asking. Are you able to drink the cup that I drink, or be baptized with the baptism that I am baptized with?" It's important to note here that there's still 6 chapters to go in Mark. Right? Now we have those 6 chapters. We know what the end of this gospel looks like. And so it's a little, I guess, unfair on our parts because we can't think of the gospel without the crucifixion at the end and Christ returning to life. But here, they didn't know that's what was going to happen. And so this is Jesus telling them, you have no idea what you're talking about. In my mind, this is directly challenging that idea of, you guys still don't get it. This isn't about military stuff at all. We aren't here for a physical kingdom, which we'll touch on here in a moment. But again, they couldn't see anything like that because they hadn't lived it yet. So it's a little unfair to hold them accountable for this, right? A little. There were a lot of warnings, but not anything like what we've got. And of course, we can't get through this without including a pun. They were so close to the point, but they were still missing the mark. Oh my gosh, fatherhood is great. Next verse. They replied, "We are able." It is astounding to me that Christ tells them that they have no idea what they're talking about, asks them, "Are you really sure that you can do what it is that I'm about to do?" And they're like, "Yes." I would at least pause a little bit, if the Son of God himself says, "You don't know what you're asking for, are you sure?" I would probably say, "Well, I don't know, maybe you could explain it one more time," or something like that. But they just get, "Yep, we can do it." And that sounds like a Sons of Thunder sort of thing to do. So I guess it makes sense, but man, the courage of these guys, outrageous. Then Jesus said to them, "The cup that I drink you will drink, and with the baptism with which I am baptized you will be baptized." Try saying the word baptism 3 times fast, I dare you. Such a difficult word. Anyway, in my mind, I like to see this as Jesus kind of like proclaiming like, "Okay, if that's what you want, here you go." But in all likelihood, he would have already known how their lives were going to end. James, it says in Acts 12:2, he was among the earliest who was martyred for the faith. So he passed that with flying colors. He did do that. John is a little more iffy. John ends up writing 5 books of the New Testament. There are some sources that say that he died in like the 90s AD. There are some that say that he was attempted to be executed via boiling of oil and it didn't work. There are some that say that he was attempted to be executed via drinking poison and it didn't work. Not really sure exactly how he died, but he had a long life of following in the footsteps of Christ, the pre-crucifixion part, right? He may not have died for the faith, but he did put in a lot of work for the faith. So in that sense, he very much followed through with this idea of drinking of the cup that Christ drank from. Obviously, James also followed the faith. That's why he was martyred for it, right? So it's not like he just like instantly got executed and, hey, check that box. No, he was a part of it early on. He just got executed, probably the first. So interesting, little tidbit there. We know that now, but they couldn't know that then. Verse 40, he follows up, "But to sit at my right hand or at my left is not mine to grant, but it is for those for whom it has been prepared." Now this verse was interesting to me because all of the sources that I saw made a big deal about this, and I just don't see it as a big deal, but I figured I'd throw it out there in case you think it's a big deal, so that way we're all on the same page here. See, a lot of people took this to mean that Christ didn't have the authority to grant this request, like he actually could not do this. And apparently, according to this source and a few others that I've seen, that it's largely a translation issue. Not that the translation is wrong, just that there are connotations to the words we've chosen that aren't exactly correct. Instead of saying It's not mine to grant, but it is for those for whom it has been prepared. It should be, it's not mine to grant except to those for whom it has already been prepared. Meaning that he has already granted this to somebody. He's not saying who it is. He's not saying it's not James and John. He's not saying it is, though. He's just saying that I'm not going to grant it to you guys for this right now. He's saying, I've already exercised that authority. It's going to whoever wins the game coming up. All right? So just in case you were like, oh boy, the Bible says God can't do something, this is like the real interpretation of it, just in case you were, going there. You're welcome. Next verse, this one I found real funny. When the 10 heard this, they began to be angry with James and John. It begs the question, why are they angry, right? If they didn't care about this, then there would be no reason to be angry, right? I'm assuming that they don't harbor any other ill will towards James and John because they've been working together for a long time. They've all been kind of working towards the same goals. They probably don't just hate each other. The idea that is trying to be presented here is that they were angry because they also wanted this, right? They think that James and John are trying to con their way into this prize that they want, and now they're upset. So while we look at these verses and see James and John doing something inappropriate, in all reality, all 12 of the disciples had the wrong heart posture here, right? They were seeking after something in a manner in which it could not be gotten. They were doing it inappropriately. They were focusing on the wrong thing, and of course, Jesus is going to use this opportunity to explain something to them. Verses 42 through 44, in case you're spacing out, here's like the important bits, right, where we're getting here. So come on back in. I promise I'll try to keep it short because the words mostly speak for themselves. But here you go. So Jesus called them and said to them, you know that among the Gentiles, those whom they recognize as their rulers lord it over them, and their great ones are tyrants over them. But it is not so among you, but whoever wishes to become great among you must be your servant, and whoever wishes to be first among you must be slaves of all. So, you're probably wondering to yourself, why is there a picture of Peppa Pig up there? Look kids, Peppa Pig, yeah, it's cool, hey. And the reason for that is this is a screenshot. If any of you are fathers of young children, you will of course recognize this as Season 5, Episode 37 of Peppa Pig, entitled When I Grow Up. It is the 249th episode of Peppa Pig, and it released on May 15th of 2017. It's a little late for Jesus' use, but we're going to use it here. And what's happening in this scene is the teacher is asking all the kids, what do you want to be when you grow up? And they have all these hats and stuff to put on and talk about what they want to be. And she goes around and asks each one of them, why do you want to be that? And they all say the same thing. They want to do something, but also they want to tell people what to do. Every one, you got a police person. I want to be police because I want to tell people what to do. I want to be the queen so I can tell people what to do. I want to be a doctor so I can tell people what to do. And she has to explain them that there's more to life than telling people what to do. So it's good to see that not much has changed in about 2,000 years. We all still have this desire to lord power over people on some level, and it's not in line with what Christ has in store for his kingdom, right? And this should be a big wake-up call to them that not only is this not a militaristic exercise that they're about to partake in, but this is something much more than that. We're not focused on structures of power, structures of authority. We're focused on something else. We're focused on being servants. If you wish to become great, you must be a servant to everybody, and that's what's going on here. Now, I put this board games thing up here because I want to say it was like a year ago. I remember hearing a sermon from this brilliant guy, right? Just absolutely brilliant, where he talked about what he learned about Christianity by playing board games, right? And I found the sermon to be engaging, very informative, very insightful, just astounding sermon, right? Guy was real good looking too. And one of the points that he made, yes, I see one person looking around, it was me. I made that sermon, of course I would say those things, just to make sure we're all on the same page. One of the points that I made then was that in board games, you often want to define your win condition, and then throughout playing the game, you need to play towards that win condition, play towards that goal exclusively, if you want to do well, right? And to me, when I see this, what I see is Christ explaining the rules to the board game called Christianity. In this game, we have one goal: to become a servant or a slave of all, to sacrifice ourselves for the good of those around us. And so, this here to me is like a call for you to define what it means for you to be good at Christianity. Christ defines it here, right? He says that to win at this game, you need to sacrifice yourself. So if you're not playing towards that goal, then you're not playing the game that he made. Pretty simple concept, right? I can't tell you what that looks like in your life. I can barely tell you what it looks like in my life, right? Every day I kind of think maybe I take one or two actions, if I'm good, that get me closer to that goal. But that is the goal. And as if to nail that point home in a way that can't be glossed over, 45 ends with, "For the Son of Man came not to be served, but to serve, and to give his life a ransom for many." So he's not just saying that if you want to play this game, here's what you do. He's saying, I am playing this game right now, and this is what I have done and will continue to do. So this isn't coming from a place of authority. This is coming from a place of true leadership, where he says that you can't get around this, right? If you want to win at this, here's what you have to do. Just go and do it. So the question for you is, how are you going to apply that to your life? Now, I threw in here, this reminds me of the Temptations, not the band, but the section in the Bible. I picked the Matthew part because it actually breaks it down a little bit. But if you needed one event that really kind of shows Christ playing the game in this way, I would point to this one. Because on the one hand, he was offered physical comfort in all the food that he could find, power over all nations, wealth unimaginable. And on the other hand, he had the option of suffering for others and doing God's will. And he chose that second option. So if your life is about pursuing something in that first list, know that Christ has chosen the other list because he found it to be more important. And I say that to you knowing that I regularly pursue things in this first list when I know that I shouldn't. So don't be like me, be like Christ. He's done it much better. That's what I've got for today. So we pray again? Okay, so let's go ahead and pray about that, or about leading us not into temptation. Hey God, it's us again. I just wanted to thank you for another day. Thank you for a sermon that was delivered. Please do with it as you please. When we go from here today, please lead us where you would have us go. Help us to be who you want us to be, and help us to play this game the way that you set out for us to play it. Like I said, I'm not sure how exactly to apply that to my life every day, but please help me to understand and help us to understand what this means in our day-to-day life. We thank you for another day. We love you, and we pray. Amen. Remember that communion is in the back. Go ahead and collect it with you on your way out. I don't remember all the words in the exact order, so I'm not going to say them. But, body was broken and given as bread, blood poured out, it's wine. So please remember those things and my eloquence in describing them. Other than that, guys, have a great week. Good seeing you.
Bye.
Bye.